TONIIC actually does not stand for the optimal network for impact investing community. It doesn't, it's not an acronym at all. We've heard a lot of acronyms today. It was actually founded in the end of 2010 as a complement to gin, which is not only a great cocktail, but in this case, gin is a global impact investing network. TONIIC is a network of angel investors and early stage investors who come together to actually do a bunch of deals. I will beg your indulgence. I know a lot of you have been here since the morning and have already heard a lot about TONIIC, and we're going against our theme of less talk, more tonic. Right now it's a lot of talk and a lot of TONIIC, but there's a bunch of new folks who've joined in, so I beg your indulgence. Some of it will be a little repetitive. But what we're going to do, I need a clicker.
What's right here?
Oh, here.
Thank you. I need a clicker that works. Sorry. What we're going to do while they're fixing that is actually just tell you a little bit about what we do, who we are, and why you should care. And the best part of this is that we will end with a story, which is the story of how we set up TONIIC, and a lot of the data that you've been hearing highlights of through this day around how to create a portfolio that is 100% impact. What are some of the numbers that are demonstrating that we do have case studies that are financially successful in impact investing? These are stories that we will share here. This is a familiar slide to some of you. This is to locate where we stand on the pure donation versus the pure investing spectrum. And TONIIC members are impact investors, by which we mean we invest with an intention for social impact and with an intention for financial success as well. Because we are a network, there is a range that we are part of, and there's this umbrella community of impact investors that we are a part of. Our mission is to be the action community for impact investing globally. We're in 20 countries. We believe in learning by doing, and so we've done a number of deals. We've looked through over 600 deals so far. And when we were set up, I think there were fewer syndicates. We're very delighted that at this point there are many in-country angel networks, including a bunch in India that are our partners. You have Aditi there from iCubeN, you have Innovent, which are strong TONIIC partners here, and both angel groups. We also partner with incubators, Unlimited India and CIIE, and we also partner, of course, with capacity builders such as Dasra, which is the reason that we're here talking to you about what we do today. The TONIIC Global is our platform where our members essentially have access to hundreds of vetted deals. They come together to collaborate, to co-invest, to share due diligence, and to share a lot of concerns. So if Ritu and Aditi and Manas want to come in on a particular early stage deal, they will collaborate as part of TONIIC Global to say, look, I'm concerned about this. Can you recommend a lawyer who can help us with the term sheet about that? And they really work together there. Our deal flow comes to us in many ways through our deal flow partners, but also through entrepreneurs coming to us directly. And I'll talk a little bit more about that in a couple of slides ahead. The TONIIC Institute, you heard Lisa and me talk about this earlier this morning. It's our think tank. It's where we share our best practices and our learnings, both the challenges as well as the successes. And the e-guide, which is our most recent publication, second most recent publication, tells you basically how to be an impact investor and gives you a number of case studies, two of which are from India, as well as a number of regional guides, one of which, again, is focused on India. At the end of the pamphlet that you have on TONIIC, in the Dasra folder that was put together, there's a link to the URL of the e-guide. It's for free. It's 60 pages. And for any of you who are interested in a little bit of exciting bedtime reading, I would recommend it. we really, TONIIC is really a community that's trying to be both global and local. Global, of course, is because we are cross-border. Local, as I mentioned before, is through our strong on-the-ground partners. So TONIIC is for those investors who want to learn by doing, want to do investing across asset classes. We started out with doing early stage investing. We have since expanded from direct investments to doing funds and fund of funds. And this has come out partly as partly through a demand from our members who are interested in exploring ways to be LPs in funds, and partly due to the market demand, where there is a number of great funds that are coming up with wonderful investment theses, a lot of them BOP focused, and they are seeking educated LPs to participate in those opportunities. And so this is a new offering that TONIIC is trying out. We've had a couple of pilots, and we'll roll it out more fully in the third quarter of this year. Just to demonstrate my point for those of you who think in pie charts about how we are cross-sectoral and cross-country, there's some of the colors on this have shifted for geography of impact, but we really are sector agnostic and we really are country agnostic, because the beauty of TONIIC is that it's a self-selection mechanism. So if there's a group of us sitting here and 3 of us care about education, when the education deals are presented, there's a show of hands, which is virtual, and we work out how to collaborate and syndicate on that deal. Equally, if there's a group of us sitting there that care about Cambodia or Indonesia or South India, and there are deals that are presented with that geographical slice, there is again a show of hands. There's typically a deal lead among us who is committed to sharing the due diligence that we've done, that we then share with the other members, and we, again, work out how to syndicate a deal there. This is a snapshot into the deals and the investments that we've done so far. So our deals come to us in 4 ways: to our vetted, to our unvetted. The vetted deals come through us through our deal flow partners, as I mentioned, or through TONIIC members who say, hey, I like this enterprise. It's gone through Dasra Social Impact, and I want to put X amount of money into it, but it's raising for a larger amount. Who wants to come with me? I'll share the due diligence and take charge of the portfolio management. The unvetted deals come through us through entrepreneurs who reach out to us just cold. We have a bunch of deal analysts who go through a proprietary scoring mechanism, or they reach out to our members, which are who represent 120 investors, and they also go through the deal scoring mechanism to list on Gust, which is our, some of you who are angel investors will be familiar with this. It's our online platform where we basically share deals and information about deals. This is our team. Actually, our team has quadrupled since I joined TONIIC not very long ago in September. We're now 10 people. But the team brings a lot of experience in, of course, investing, impact investing, working with startups, entrepreneurship overall, but also in international development. And you know, it's a great team that works well together. We are very virtual, so we look forward to the times that we actually get together. We're in a bunch of different countries, as you can see here. And the red dots are the staff. We are recruiting for the orange dots. And the host members are actually TONIIC members who take charge of that region to say, I am based out of the Mekong region, and I am going to bring deals to the table that are from the Mekong, serve as the gatekeeper for a bunch of other investors in that area who may want to be part of this community, and basically works very strongly with the TONIIC team, because we cannot be, unfortunately, in 20 countries at once. This is a picture of us in our last annual gathering, which was not virtual, where we were lucky enough to spend a couple of days together in Big Sur in California. We do have a number of in-person events. We're actually just in the middle of an Asia roadshow. We spent a couple of days in Singapore a few days ago, and this is the midpoint at Dasra Philanthropy Week, and we're off to Hong Kong after this. So we do a number of in-person events as well. And this is the heart of who TONIIC is, its members, where we represent more than 120 investors, as I mentioned. They are high net worths, family offices, foundations, some institutions, but they are all very passionate about impact investing and want to engage very actively in impact investing. So with that, I'm actually going to ask Lisa a bunch of questions about who our members are. Lisa, do you want to tell me who Doug is?
I'm going to leave the freezer section.
Yes.
This is
Why do you
definitely
think
the
I'm standing
freezer
right here?
section back here, and I'm going to walk over here where it's warm, and I'm going to answer your questions.
But I'm Austrian and she's Hawaiian, so.
Yeah. Okay. You want me to tell everyone a little bit about who's on the screen?
Yes, please.
Okay, so we thought we'd pick 3 members out of the stack to share with you because each of them has a unique story. And it'll tell you a little bit about who is attracted to TONIIC and why. So we have Mandla, who is on the far left. He is from South Africa. He's an entrepreneur. He has created his own fund, impact fund, but he also has created his own businesses. So he understands both sides of the equation. And he recently joined, in fact, was also at the TONIIC gathering down in Big Sur, because he wanted community. Down in South Africa, there are a couple players in the country, and they're kind of spread out. But he wanted a global community that he could communicate with, share best practice to grow his practice locally. And so that's why he's on board. Leah, that's how she pronounces her name. Her last name is Bantivoglio. She's actually from New York. She just relocated to the West Coast. And we met her, we ran a 3-day workshop in San Francisco for high net worth individuals on impact investing, just the practice. And she attended that, and at the end of it, she got so excited, so she decided to join TONIIC because she has come into wealth, her own, that she made herself, but also family wealth that she's inherited over the last couple of years. And she really, really wanted to align her money with her values and found it incredibly difficult to do that with her current investment advisory. And actually, over the 1.5 years that we've been in discussion, she is slowly starting to pull those assets away and move to a new advisory that's going to help her align her assets with impact. But on the impact, the small investment side, she's interested in animal rights. Now, that might sound like something really, how are you ever going to find an impact deal that has to do with animal rights? Believe it or not, there are actually investable deals that address animal rights issues, not only in the US, but globally. And so she's starting to develop a small portfolio, but she's also bringing this product to TONIIC and finding other folks in the network who are also looking for those types of deals. Very unusual. And then we have Doug Lee. Doug is an entrepreneur from South Korea. He actually relocated to the Bay Area, has been a serial entrepreneur, has had a number of companies that have gone public, and he decided to get into impact investing a couple years ago. He joined TONIIC, and he's probably one of our most active investors. I think Doug is on every deal that that I think is currently active. In fact, he recently roped me into helping him do due diligence on a financial inclusion deal, so we're working on that together. But what he's also done, this is very typical for a TONIIC investor, is he started an angel group in South Korea, an impact angel group. And so what he's doing is he's using the GUST guide to bring deals from South Korea, but he's also taking deals from the platform to his group in South Korea. And I think he's got now 20 investors in that group. So that should give you a kind of a feel for who, some of our members, how they're using the platform and how they're doing their investments.
Thanks, Lisa. And these are some of the earliest members of TONIIC, the co-founders, and they're also on our board. Lisa and Charlie, you've been hearing about through the day, but we also have John Kohler, who actually created the demand dividend approach, which is a fascinating approach for those of you who are interested in impact investing. We also now have leadership from Asia with Jayesh Parekh, who's sitting right there, who's become the first member of our Global Advisory Council. And so we're looking forward to expanding the wonderful leadership that we have to include local and regional leaders who will guide us in this phase of high growth. And with that, Lisa, I'm going to hand this over to you to tell your story.
Okay. Whoops.
with the story missing.
I like that. Actually, I'm going to ask Charlie to come out of Siberia and tell the story. And I'm going to sit over here and give you the clicker. And this is one of these wonderful, husband-wife moments when I say, Charlie, when you think I need to take over, let me know.
Sure. Oh. All right. So storytelling, more storytelling. Well, I guess I told my story a little bit, so I'm going to include you now in the rest of it. And that's, I mentioned that I'm Austrian, and so I actually like to be cold, right? And Lisa didn't mention yet that she's Hawaiian, and she likes to be in hot climates. So she is really liking it, Mumbai particularly, right? And versus when my dads or friends welcome me, then they need to put me into air conditioning to make me work. And but that notwithstanding, after a few years of intercontinental across 12 time zone type of courtship, we did get married in Austria, and then decided that we need to immigrate to the US because Austria is actually quite a conservative country vis-a-vis, or was, maybe still is, vis-a-vis non-Austrian professional women. And having an architect professional woman that's not Austrian did not enable her to be really entrepreneurial in the country that I am from. And since I'm entrepreneurial myself, we said, let's go to Silicon Valley. And that's what we did. And in Silicon Valley, like I pointed out, we had very, very successful careers that led to quite a bit of wealth that prompted us to reflect on the meaning of wealth, which is really to make a positive impact. And now, you see, most people who have wealth, actually, when you ask them what the intention is for their wealth, they say, I also want to do something positive, but they don't know how. Maybe there's not enough products out there. It's too difficult to do. And if we could offer them a way to actually do that fairly straightforwardly without becoming an expert and spending 150 hours a week in doing that, then they would actually do that, especially if we could prove to them that it's financially viable, right? And so when we started telling our story to our peers in Silicon Valley with the early indicators that indeed we could accomplish this, that's when we gained traction with people like yourselves. And we had informal and formal meetings, and we created this group of ourselves called Mission Aligned Investor Group in the years 2005 and 6 and 7, where we got together informally in some people's homes and discussed our approaches and what we learned and all of that. And so because Lisa and I are action-oriented, and we do like social events as well, a little bit at least, but not as so much that we actually want to just have a social club of discussing. And that was the origins of us together with a couple of friends to co-found TONIIC about 4 years ago. And just like many of you who are thinking about this, you reach out to your friends and you say, hey, let's do this together. This is really a cooperative model. It's a transparent model. This is the day and age of humanity. We're actually with some of the technology that I helped participate in developing in Silicon Valley, we can have a global platform of people who care. We can have a global platform of due diligence where it's transparent to everybody who wants to look at. We can have a global platform of data points that show us how healthcare is done in Africa and in other parts of the world, that we can learn from each other. And that is the characteristics of this platform and who we are. It's the new world. We talked about the gender lens. It's a lot of female values of collaboration, cooperation, reaching out, embracing that together with the modern way of dealing with systemic change of things that we want to influence, while respecting the regional specificity and the regional contextual, cultural issues that really are as important as the opportunities for global. It's global and local, it's global and regional, and that's why I get so inspired by talking to other people around the globe who share these values and who want to make a difference. What is this here now? Okay, so we have a family office, and part of the family office is our foundation, and whom we speak to is really the leaders of family offices and family foundations, and that might be one and the same, or it might be different, right? And so particularly the family offices, that are not led by administrators, right? Because if you if you go to family office conferences where the administrators talk, then I certainly don't get inspired by that. As a matter of fact, I go and leave them to talk about their jobs because that's what they're worried about. Now, if you talk to the principals behind the money, then you talk about what does it mean to have a multi-generational business? What does it mean to your legacy of the investment capital that you have? Again, if they have a choice to actually align their family, multi-generational family values with their investments and their businesses, they will do it, right? And I told you about some of the numbers. You know, when we reach out now to our peers around the world, there's we have 65 TONIIC members plus 30, 100% impact members together, over 100 efforts now, cumulatively more than approaching $4 billion, committed to this impact. And so this is why it is our time to initiate the change that we need for us, and we have kids. For those of you who have kids, of course you're going to do that, right? And just maybe one important piece that was not mentioned today yet, and only in passing. You see, the existing system is wrong, and yet everybody pretends that it's okay. And macroeconomists and modern portfolio theoreticians and business analysts, they pretend as if it's okay not to care about climate change. It's an externality. It's not part of our capital system, so why should you care? Well, I do, okay? And it's not acceptable not to offer solutions to us that actually cater to that. They pretend, the status quo, that we don't exist. Because I'm not a rational investor. I think you see that by now, right? Yet, modern portfolio thinks that we all are rational investors who only want to maximize our financial returns, no matter what. That's clearly not the case. They pretend as if there is something even close to a perfect market. Do you know one? No. We know, as a matter of fact, we actually make quite a bit of money on the externalities of environmental externalities that become internalities. The market does not understand yet the social challenges of the planet, right? And that's because the social challenges will not be internalized for some time because the market does not value getting rid of these social injustices yet. Yet, in the next 10 to 15 years, we will change that. Social impact bonds, new ways of investing in clear alignment of financial return with impact that we demand are a sign of the times to come. And we are the ones who invest in that. We are the ones who are going to demand more products. We are the ones who are going to aggregate more capital with our friends and say, no, this is what we need and this is what we want. The naive holding on to the notion as if the same people who had no clue about the risk return in 2008, 2009, pretend now to understand it better than before with the same methodologies, with the same ways of explaining risk. We do not buy that. We need to rethink the way that risk, reward, financial return, and impact go together. We demand that impact is an integral part of our investment policy, of the way that we do due diligence, the way that we invest, the way we construct the term sheets, the way that we monitor our investments, and the way that we, quote unquote, exit our investments. Ideally, we never want to exit any investment because it's a good investment, right? So that is the challenge, and that's why we need to collaborate and cooperate, syndicate, compare notes, demand transparency, and all of that in order to get the change that we want. This should be a good break now, hopefully, because I got geared up. Okay. Oh, no, I can go on if you want to.
No, I'll take this. So what you saw that last slide, that last slide was the way we look at our portfolio. Very different from the rest of the world. This is the impact that we want to have, and then these are the asset classes around. And our idea is that in the future, that everybody has a bullseye like that you can connect the two in one picture. Wouldn't that be cool? So we did talk about that we do our investments by asset class. We heard today that someone mentioned that impact investing is an asset class. It's not. You can make impact investments across asset class, and we should have that in our portfolio, and I encourage you to take a look at the detail. So this is exactly what it looked like last year at around June. Right around this time, it's around 94%, I think, totally invested in impact. So I'm going to give you some examples of, what is this? Be tangible here. So Charlie had talked about earlier about non-impact portfolio would include something like Bank of America. Now, Bank of America provides or invests in the coal industry in the US. We fundamentally don't want to invest in extractive industries, so we're not going to put our cash in the Bank of America. However, where will we put our cash? Well, we're going to put it in development banks, and I think that in here in India, I don't know what is there. No, not. Okay. Well, there's a thriving community of this type of bank in the US that are serving communities on a local and regional level. And guess what? They're returning a positive 50 basis points more than the competition being Bank of America, Wells Fargo, et cetera. So you can actually do better in a bank that's doing good for the community. As I said, we don't invest in extractives. So what do we invest in? Well, we invest in carbon. We invest in renewables like lime timber. And there's a number of the opportunities in the renewable department are growing. And so our portfolio on that portion, we actually have been building that up over time, and those investments are doing well. One example is Beartooth Capital, which is a real estate play, which is basically working on purchasing land, going in and mitigating any sort of environmental damage, and then turning it back around with conservation easements back into the real estate market, and then selling it back to private hands or to government hands, whatever's appropriate. Double-digit returns at a time in 2008, 2009, when the rest of the real estate world was hemorrhaging and losing a lot of capital. And I already talked about BioLite. Anyone here not hear about BioLite? Okay, I'll keep going. Yeah, it's a really cool deal. And now we're going to get to the financial, and I'm going to let Charlie do the financial performance.
I talked about impact, now I'm going to talk about finances. Cool. Okay. Here we go. So with our partner Sonin Capital, we just released this report that I talked about before, and it's evolution of an impact portfolio, of our portfolio. And you can really read up all the details of the different return characteristics in each asset class. I'm going to share, I think, a couple of you today. So let me just go in here and talk about cash. So as Lisa said, we don't put cash into the normal banks. We only put cash into banks that are transparent about how they use our cash. They support the local entrepreneurs and hopefully entrepreneurs that otherwise would not get access to cash. And if you see here the types of returns up here, 1 year, 3 year, 5 year, and since inception, and this is the net of fee return that we have in our portfolio of impact cash only. And we, as I pointed out, each asset class we compare to an industry benchmark of that asset class. In this particular instance, for cash, we used a 3-month treasury bill. And look at this. One performed 0.82% and the other one 0.36%. So a difference of 50 basis points in cash, which is quite remarkable. Now, we do have public equities in our portfolio, and not that much. Impact investors usually have a little bit less public equities because they're not as impactful directly as direct investments, right? But this gives you a sense of how our public equities that are ESG, environmental, social, and governmental, not just screened but actively managed, compare vis-a-vis the MSCI World Index. And for those of you who don't see the years, this is the year 2007 and 2008 and 2009, 2010. And the dark blue line is the performance of our impact public equity portfolio vis-a-vis the MSCI World benchmark. And interestingly enough, in the year 2008 and 2009, right, the public equities that we own, which are managed according to environmental, social, and governmental criteria, did not go down way as much as the public equity that was not managed according to these criteria. Even more interesting is that they actually recovered faster, right, than the benchmark, which I did not expect. That means that in this particular instance, the market already has a little bit of an inkling that it's better, and the market rewards us with more financial return if we actually insist on environmental, social, and governmental criteria in your public equities, right? And for those of you who cannot read this, in the 5-year return, I just highlighted here, you know, our return was 3.23%. That's across 2008, 2009, versus a minus 1.7%. So a difference of over 5 percentage points. And to my point before on the panel is, if you look across our portfolio in that time frame, across all asset classes, then we outperform the benchmark, which is in this instance made out of a weighted benchmark across these asset classes by 20 basis points. So I am using the financial terminology of the old model in order to fundamentally change it over time. But we have to use the terminology of the financial industry, because otherwise they don't talk to us and we cannot explain, you know, that we are actually performing in their terminology better than they do on their own turf. And so, but the bottom line here is I would much rather talk about the impact that our portfolio has, but you certainly don't have to take a haircut on the financial side. Do you? What's going on now? All right. Okay. So I do get to talk about impact, because that's really much more interesting than the financial performance. So we kicked off this morning with an impact measurement discussion, and you can download our approach to impact from our website and the GIN website. And what we decided to use is really 3 different types of metrics. And not necessarily in priority order. They're all really important. And so the first one is our quantitative metrics. It's important, as was pointed out today in the morning, to really understand how much impact your investments have with respect to jobs created, income increased, and things of that nature. Then we augment that with qualitative metrics, because the quantitative metrics don't tell the whole story, right? So we are interested in actually being catalytic with respect to attracting more capital. We have achieved that with Beartooth Capital One, with Sook One, with the social impact bonds where no institutional capital goes in. We are brave enough to actually do that, because we see the impact that these investments have. Once we de-risk it for the bigger guys, then they come in. So we count that as success. And finally, we augment that with stories. It is so important to talk about the stories and what that really means, these metrics, that you cannot really that otherwise you would not be able to convey that. Yet stories without metrics are as bad as metrics without stories, right? Because it's really a combination that explains the whole story, so to speak. And sometimes we're criticized for using simplistic metrics like the financial industry does, but we certainly don't take 3 or 4 metrics and confuse them with the reality on the ground, which our colleagues from the financial industry routinely do, and they don't really take the negative impact of their investments into account at all. So it is possible to measure, it is important to measure, it is important to quantitatively and storytell that, and we'll come out with a report that actually is comprehensive on that level in about half a year ourselves. Okay. Wow, I get to talk a lot time long. No, yeah.
I surprised Charlie and did the slideshow last night and didn't show him the slides, so he's doing a great job of punting with the slide deck. So we're going to end it with a call to action, and it's one of our favorite New Yorker cartoons. Yes, the planet got destroyed, but for a beautiful moment in time, we created so much value for the shareholders. Let's hope that that really isn't the story. Let's hope that instead that we're called to be the architects of the future and not its victims. And I have a feeling when I look around this room Number one, you guys are amazing because you're still sitting in your seats. We really appreciate you giving us so much audience today. I really am going to have a day of silence tomorrow, and I'm not going to say the word TONIIC once. So anyway, thank you so much. And I think the bottom line here is that there's a community that has come together globally because there's a global community that needs to come together over this conversation. We have a big proof point in DASRA and all the work that it's been doing now for 14 years. It's amazing to me. Neera and Deval have done such an amazing job of curating this community in such an impactful and meaningful way. Well, we are the beneficiaries of that because TONIIC really was birthed on all the experiences that we got through working with the cohorts here, and then taking that concept elsewhere and then seeing it emerge really across the globe. And so at the end of the day, that's what TONIIC is. It's people like you wanting to come into a bigger conversation. So thanks for your time. If you have any questions, let us know.
I mean, we are happy to take a question, but I don't know that. I think at this point we could do a pop quiz and you'd all do really well. So maybe just one or two if there are any. Otherwise, I know it's been a long day. I wanted to thank the DASRA team, which has been incredible. Gayatri, Iram, Tushar, Akif, everybody who's sitting here, Manas, Neera, Deval. You guys have been so incredible with just giving us this much exposure as TONIIC launches all through Asia, and we appreciate it. And so if you could, all of those who are, all of those on the DASRA team who are on that WhatsApp group, please tell them we say a big thank you for those of you who are running around behind the scenes. And for all the rest of you, we're here to stay, and we hope to be able to work with you and partner with you on taking this movement forward. Thank you.